great day yesterday.
It's a good close vote. You know, that's, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty 50-50. Not a great deal separating the two there. Heading on in, we're going to be throwing down to Oregon straight away. The good old equalizer map, the good old 50-50. Thatcher coming in as the first ban. Cyclops to start things off here on the attack.
So they're learning each other's languages by the sounds of it. They're trying their best.
There's probably better times
Flores.
to do that, I'll be honest.
Gone. I love that. What's going on? Okay, this is another thing of, if you want an idea of how much fun they have in the server, it's in the old chat. Oregon, the removal of Thatcher and Flores is pretty hefty, especially if you're playing around that, you know, blue corner and elbow. You're playing around the sort of dig in of that hold. Occasionally, if you're up in dorms, the sort of trophy setup, if teams like to extend that way with a shield and potentially a Rooney gate to make sure they have that locked off, it's a very, very different story. I mean,
I think everyone's good.
Friends in the server.
I'll be honest, I think that everyone's been asked if they're okay and everyone's fine.
Good. Are you good?
Thank you. I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you.
And you?
And you?
Thank you. And you?
I think.
Valkyrie and Cade to be removed as well. So you've got the run of your teeth on Heart Breaches here. You can really go to town with that. We've got both Maverick and Hibana available. With the Cade gone and the Thatcher gone, it sort of neutralizes those two factors as well. Now, with this being Cyclops' map choice.
Yeah, and I guess this is the curiosity that starts to pick up at this point, because Oregon can be a good rogue map, but it wasn't yesterday. They were knocked back 4-7 if you missed it. And again, it was against Team Liquid, a team that, okay, they've had some roster changes. They haven't had as strong as they were, but they're still a strong roster. And they still have Nesk and Palu, who did Nesk and Palu things yesterday. And that was the thing that they couldn't quite keep up with. Rogue didn't have a secondary gunner. Most of the eyes was on Aces, who was able to put up a fight, but without that secondary pickup from Cryan or Leon, it just wasn't quite hitting the mark. Here against Cyclops, a team that's a little bit more similar to Rogue in terms of a bit of a balance of who's going to be gunning and who's going to be finding fights, and also that mobility of aggression, because all 10 of them love to try and find different locations with a singular sort of backline player. So I'm curious to see if they can learn the lessons of how they can sharpen their gun skills, but also find a more familiar foe. Hey, who's that in the hands of Anaton? 5 seconds to go.
I'm not sure if we've seen a no-see yet.
That's exactly right. I haven't, at least on my games.
I was racking my brains. I think this could be a debut. Certainly a debut in the games that I've watched up until this point. And an interesting choice and an interesting pickup. It's something that you sort of forget about, isn't it, at a point?
That's it. She's allowed.
That's a thing now. It is allowed. We don't have to remake the lobby. Well, and that's the immediate thought, isn't it? We'll have to see where Anaton chooses to deploy those shields. Obviously, there's quite a bit of window play that goes on here on Oregon, especially if you're going to look toward that top floor, so there is going to be opportunity. It's also a nice way of gathering a little bit more information. Look at where Anaton's playing at the moment. Straight into master bedroom, a little bit of adrenal surge to assist that process as well. And a shield set up outside. Now it's going to allow a nice easy route on in with the drone, and it's less about where you're able to set that up and more about what you're able to do off the back of it. Active drone in now, and if someone does choose to try and swing onto that angle, you do get a very easy straight out the drone, straight into a firefight while still remaining safe.
So they're going for the long fight here. The Impact's already swinging their way down towards the backside of Garage. A bit of a slow and steady approach. They're making sure they can try and get some eyes, and well, if you're unfamiliar with Osa, we'll give you a very quick breakdown. She can deploy these bulletproof shields with a poppable glass bit at the bottom. An Impact will make quick work of it, or any explosive close enough, and well, this is the danger of them. That bulletproof moving banister that you can redeploy, and then suddenly you have it as a bit of a hop to and a hop over. It is bulletproof glass though. It can be smashed, it can be turned, so you can't really get through it, and as I said, it can be entirely destroyed with just a little bit of thinking. But she hasn't massively been seen. She's only just been allowed to be here over the quals. Let's see if she can have a bit of an impact.
Well, there's a smoke that's worked its way on through. Anaton is still looking to try and hold on to the angle that's been made into games, and Well, with Alligator at the bottom of those white stairs, still with the small factor of Prano to deal with, the hopping will immediately be punished. This is a distinct lack of information here from CYCLOPS. You can't be sending your diffuser carrier into the bottom of white stairs like that, as that looks like that's where most players are going to fall. Crying picks up another one down at the bottom of those stairs, and it's down to Anaton to try and push through the smoke. Finds one onto Prano. What is he going to be able to do from here? Just short of 40 seconds, and a C4 will find him. This is night and day different from Rogue already inside of round number 1. Information, something that they have in large amounts, but by contrast, CYCLOPS just sort of hopping in and on a whim and a prayer.
Well, it was the first DOS, so she was there, and she was technically there for the longest. She's back, though. And to be honest, if anyone was going to try and bring the danger that she could muster, this is potentially one of the teams. This is potentially one of those dynamite setups, especially from a region that's had a very good run. They were often sometimes asterisks as do APAC do the plays that they do because they're trying to break out of a meta or they're a mold set within themselves. Everybody's got a different idea, and I think they've very much proven that they wanted to try and push a game idea. And you know, the sort of early plays that have been adopted from them, the plays that they've ended up taking from other places, they're still always flirting with this idea of growth and pressure. Now, as we go underneath, I'm curious to see if she'll offer them a little bit more. Again, it may be an operator we're focusing on because, well, it's the first time we've seen her. We're still running the numbers in the back room. All the other casters are checking their pretty feeble memories as casters, I think we all have. It's the analysts who need to run that. I need Dev. I need Fresh.
Some big brains in the
big brains.
Downstairs we go now to the basement. Rogue being successful on that top floor is going to force the rotation. With Mirror available, it somewhat changes the landscape of how things can be played down here. Leon opting to bring said Mirror and place a couple of windows out. Info was something that Rogue had a good deal of in that previous round. That was demonstrated by the C4 that they were able to get vertically. We could see there was a lot of players that were on the side of CYCLOPS really just sort of broadcasting the location and making their presence known. The Lion now being used as some sort of a pinch on trying to just gain a little bit of that control back in the early part of the round. But you just feel like Rogue were a little bit above that.
Well, Aces slips away and goes a little bit below that, and that being the pressure that was otherwise coming down quite quickly. They've realized that there is all of this mounting above, and he doesn't have to lose his life. And to be honest, this was a game that they suffered with before. The quick work of a shield that's trying its best to clear, this is another way that you could play Ossa. Have a big gun behind her, let her sort of work like a blitz without the blitz ability, and remind her to crouch every now and again, because you don't quite have the safety and solidity of the man mountain, but you do have pace. And that's a pace they're applying here as they push Cryin down tower stairs as well. He's knocked out of this arena. They're steadily shepherding all of the players down into the basement, and within a minute, it's pretty quick, but there is one loose part, and that's at the top of tower, waiting.
Gatarada seeing if he can try and create any sort of cut off there for said player as the drone goes up from Black Ray as an attempt is going to be made. Hatches can now start to be opened, and it's one of the nice things about both Thatch being banned, Cade being banned, and the 2 hard breaches being available is that you're going to be able to get those hatches open in a pinch, which with the way that CYCLOPS are playing, it's going to benefit them because they aren't really always giving themselves the most amount of time, albeit we've only seen a couple of rounds so far, but hatches open around the minute mark is never a bad thing. They can start now with that clear because there's going to be quite a lot to wade through when they start thinking about burning onto the site.
Now the longer Aces is up here is the more powerful he can be. He's got eyes on a drone that might have had eyes on him, but he feels a little bit safe for now as the rest steadily makes its way down the tower stairs. They're flicking through and they'll probably try and have some awareness, but if he can time this well, he can absolutely take everything out. Even if it's a do or die and probably die situation, he takes 1 or 2 and suddenly everything's up in air. He's able to slip his way past, and oh, he just gets the back of 1. There's 2 and the diffuser as well, and the E1D echoes out, but it's too little, too late. Black Ray, he tried to pick up the pieces, but at this point, his life is already forfeit Aces, so he's just going to see how much more time he can waste. He's a danger. CYCLOPS need to try and find a way to get rid of him, or at least force a fight here. He's low health, but they have no idea where he is. Anaton's going to have to go back into the big open space. They're going to use that to cover themselves as Cryin gets 1 more. The 2 bodies above the hatch at least get 1 back of their own, but with Aces just on the far side, it's 1 more on the hatch, and this is very likely all she wrote. No diffuser, no blood, No round for CAG.
Chrono there just hyping up Aces after a very successful round. You can't deny the presence up there inside a T3 and the perfectly timed rotation. It was a brilliant sort of trap that was laid by Rogue. It was, yeah, come and take meeting. We're happy with you to open these hatches. We know we've got no way of denying that from happening. Sure, you're going to bring the Lion, but if you're not even going to clear out that top floor, we're going to punish you for it. Sitting inside of the attic, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book for Aroma on this map. You know, you think about the attic and you think about how much impact you can have with a couple of impacts in your pocket. You can really start to make a nuisance of yourself. That's exactly what Aces did.
What we've seen from a lot of teams that have played yesterday and coming today is that they've grown. The teams that have beaten, it's not everybody, obviously, but obviously you look at teams. You know, Na'Vi had a slightly better performance than they did, but it can get much worse than yesterday. You've got Rogue, who have obviously learned some lessons as well. You're seeing lessons learned from opposing teams too, and it's not everybody, but I think that's one of the tells that might grow into Rogue's story here. And it's one of the things that we have to highlight about CYCLOPS is it's day 2, but this is their first game. And I know it was a bit of a conversation of there's the 2 moments that you're the most nervous. The number 1 is before the grand final, and the number 2 is before your first game. Because at that point, all that year's pressure and prep is relieved at least a lot more than it would be when you're second or you're third, because at least you've hit the ground running. You've started a race and waited for that pistol shot. Don't be surprised if CAG take a little bit more warming up than Rogue do. They are far from the first team.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Rogue had yesterday as their first game. They played against Liquid and they really struggled. There's no other way to put it. There was only Aces who was a positively rated player off the back of the series. Already crying, has more I was literally just about to say that.
He only needed 1.
He got 3 kills against Liquid.
Oh, okay, across the whole series, yeah.
Across the whole series, yeah.
Yeah. Pog.
I mean, the all chat's lighting up, so these boys are obviously feeling pretty confident, but I mean, maybe we don't need to do any sort of analysis sections of the cast. Maybe we can just let the all chat do it.
I mean, it's one of those things where I'm sure an admin is monitoring it.
Quite close.
Exactly. As soon as all chat starts to pop up, it's like, okay, let's make sure this stays jovial and jolly as the game continues. It's only round 3, but they're a team that's in good spirits because Rogue has faced the worst, and now they're able to find the best. An instant trade out, better, from CYCLOPS. Iagator finds 1 and just gets the second, locked in on the stairs. That gun, well, it's an LMG, and they're in a pretty hot spot right now. Susie C can't quite find the cleanliness of an entrance from that shower, so has knocked back in to see if he can scrub himself a little bit further. Impacts are impacting all the way around into the back of the corridor with Cryan still locked in. They thought they could just sneak past, but now they found themselves isolated. Anadon is waiting. He wants Cryan to see if he can offer some support, but there's only so long you can wait when you're on attack. You've got to try and set the pressure and the pace, and if they're stuck up in shower, you need something else to try and be that extra bout of mobility, whether you pick up sticks or try and head elsewhere.
It's sort of one of the traits of an Osa as well, is that you feel obliged to play by that shield now that you've placed that utility, and it can almost be a bit of a sunk cost fallacy where you've got to keep things moving a little bit quicker than they are. Anaton is now going to try and hop on through, but immediately it's shield out. Is this a lack of information, or is this just want of a little bit of speed? Aces, he's going to find himself getting downed on out as Anaton drops the shield perfectly. Susie C now looking to get into sight as well. Cryan's going to have to make that rotation. He's going to have to make it quickly. Leon does hit the shots. The shield means nothing, and the plants won't go down just yet. Still, there's 35 seconds to make this happen, and both Rogue players are a little bit off-site. They've got to make that rotation on in now. Cryan does have a C4 in hand. He's going to go for the throw, but he won't be required, as Leon is going to be there to find that final kill. Plenty of time to disable the diffuser. Mr. Gids is going to do that as well. Didn't have a kill coming into that round, but picked himself up 2 there, staying alive right until the end.
So, okay, we'll do a little bit about Osa there. It was a very quick swap out. That's one of the abilities that you can sort of play with it, and why you can see some active, aggressive teams, as Anaton likes to be, getting in the face. He was a big shield player. He was a very good shield player, and also can be in the right hands. We've, had Pengu on our wonderful staff and support team who said what she can do and how she can be in the right hands. He might be the right hands, but it's not quite connecting just yet. It seemed like CYCLOPS couldn't quite get that finesse onto the side itself. It was better, but that was Rogue's tertiary site, and that's always something you've got to keep into mind, is that is their statistical third and weakest hold. That is the one where they felt most pressure, and it was still some great gunplay, and that was exactly the thing that they were missing yesterday against Liquid.
Well, they've come alive here today. They've been able to pick up the first 3 rounds on the bounce, a clean rotation. If they can run through that and do it back again, even better for them. Anderson's now switched off this time. He's actually not on the Ultra anymore. He's switched over onto the Dokkaebi. I'm not sure what it is about Cyclops, but whenever, and this is going to sound preposterous, but whenever I try and switch from a shield to a gun, or whenever I even see other players from other regions try and switch from, it takes an age. These guys seem to make it happen almost instantaneously. Ace's got downed off the back of the shield into the gun switch animation. The speed of these guys is absolutely incredible. Having said that, I do kind of agree with dropping the OSA. It's just been too much to play around. I don't think that you can base your entire attack and an entire one player just around those shields.
Exactly. It's always worth mentioning that when an operator gets introduced, it isn't just always going to be this sort of swing in. There's not really been anyone that's hit the ground running apart from Original Lion, but that forced us to have new rules in the game itself. So everybody, it's not that they approach it with more caution, but it's that they bring themselves in with a steadier burn. Not everybody's an early adopter. The meta's in a very interesting place, and that's always worth admitting. It's not just that it's a new operator added, but look at the swing in how many more operators were brought into the game over the past 6 months because of those changes. You wouldn't have seen a Finker back then from anybody apart from maybe APAC rosters, and now she is in the hands of some of the best players of the world.
It's a staple. It's the same way that Zero isn't entirely the whole attacking lineup. You will bring it in some occasions, but more often than not, you're going to stick to a different 5. We are going to hear the Logic Bomb call ring through. Gives Rogue something to think about. There's a Finker boost as well to boot. It's not being doubled up with the Lion this time, as that hasn't really stopped anybody from Rogue doing anything at the moment. Even with Aces out there on the roam in previous rounds, he's been able to deal and combat with that Lion. He's getting a little bit brave, however, at the classroom window, and really is poking for a fight here. Just sends a impact grenade up in an attempt to deter anyone from just moving on through and getting the breach open. Cyclops certainly taking this time to just see if they can catch any of these Rogue players on the rotation. Anderson actually lets somebody pass him. He's got the DMR. He hasn't really got much of an option at that point to really start taking significant shots. And if his location can remain unknown, it might be the better. A nade for a Walleye isn't ideal. And a second, well, that really does suck, because now it's going to mean Leon is a lot safer dug in behind the couch.
And they know that someone's there. That's the difference. I mean, the window was already popped and Leon was in a position, but to know that they're actively thinking about it and have been for the past 15, 20 seconds, it means that you sort of have a bit of confirmation. You have a bit of clarity on what they're approaching. Up White, though, he's just hopped in, popped around, and dropped a player. There it is. A very easy pickup on one. Is a bit curious about the lockup from the second, but Gatorada, he's driven his way all the way around onto the back on the top of the Addict side. That gives them that clarity. Cryin and Prano have to go for a rotate up White. They've sort of let it slip through. It was a hole that's being punished by a planting diffuser, and Prano pops up, pops down. Gator is gone, but not before they can stop a plant, and Gatorada stops Aces on the far side. Black Gray, he's underneath now. He's going to see if he can rebuild. He thought he might catch the loose tail of a player, but they've otherwise pulled off. Cryin, though, he's going to meet a fight sooner than he thinks. And now it's just down to the rotation onto the trophy side. Prano wanted to go for a bit of a split pinch here, but they entirely know where he is. And those LMGs, oh, they're pretty strong right now.
That defense was brilliant until the moment they let everybody run up White stairs.
Yeah.
Now, in a previous round when we saw that site, round number 1, we saw that White stairs being held very effectively. It was held by Prano, he was playing on the Jaeger, and he was just playing tight. ADS there, bit of barbed wire potentially, didn't really need it. He just shot them as they hopped in, because guess what? You're pretty vulnerable as you're hopping in through a window. You can't then start trying to fight that on the reverse and win that gunfight. It's a height advantage thing. It's all of those things that come into it. You end up being the attacker trying to get back into your own site. If that happens, if White Stairs is held, Leon probably stays alive. There isn't a deeper push then that goes in through Attic. There's potential for a refrag. No surprise, we see them give it another attempt.
3 hard breach for the push here and the approach onto dorms, and I'm sort of curious how this is going to come together here. Obviously, if there was a site where you wanted more hard breach than less, this is always a good one, and it gives you the width of an Addict take alongside walk in without any fear, and then you can also probably pop open Armory if that gets reinforced to give you a more comfortable swing round. That's generally about it. And, you know, there's other places you can play hard destruction, but you're looking at takes. You're looking at how you structure that sort of approach. And other walls at that point are probably just going to hand more to the defenders. You blow open Trophy Attic, and suddenly your Attic take is more dangerous if they just swing Trophy. You've made that long corridor even longer and tougher to get by, and given them a bit of protection from grenade swing, it becomes a choice. And, well, by the fact that we've had a heavy spawn there over onto the Tower Attic side, it seems like that might be the start of something.
I'm not sure where Cyclops were expecting to go, if they were expecting to actually go downstairs and they were looking to open a lot of things up, maybe in an attempt to remove Aces out of Attic like he played previously, or if they were expecting to go back to Dorms and now they can go for a little bit more of a two-dimensional push, because up until now it's just been hopping through the bottom of White window, and that's 50-50 for them.
I mean,
they need to come up with something a little bit deeper, and something that I am a real big advocate of is just getting Attic open. Get Attic open, put the pressure on, remove the player from being able to sit in the bottom of Attic inside of the pit. In this case, that's going to be Rips. You've got to try and do something about that player. As soon as that happens, you can really start to manipulate those defenders and force those rotations. As it stands, still waiting to see exactly where the setup will come. There's going to be a bit of drone work going on into Attic. The breach is now open. So steps are being taken. Susie C and Black Ray both in position, as there is a mute jammer on the wall, but that can be very swiftly dealt with by the blowtorch.
Well, there's a swing pass. Leon is putting as much pressure as he can back onto the fight here, and obviously they've repositioned themselves. 3 players underneath. They expected some pace and have pulled themselves further away from the site. They've realized that there's a bit of a great read that Cyclops have, and they love to actually take the fight onto the side players, as we see. One of the only 2 that was even there is the next one to South at the top of White, and Black Gray's concerned about the hop out, but it's Leon that's more concerning. As I said, this is already a long corridor, a tough fight and a tricky one. They've got a bit of the hard breach done. They've got a bit of the destruction, and they have their rotation if they want to try and get a little bit closer. But Galaretta, he's got to try and draw some attention here, pull some of that pressure away, make sure that there isn't anyone else to stack up with Leon, because otherwise it's just Leon sort of saying, I'll take this, lads. Doesn't really matter what else happens.
Well, Leon's played a blinder already because he's rotated in to take the pressure off Rips. It's much better that Leon takes that engagement than the SMG-11 takes it. So he can actually fight this fight for a little bit longer at a bit more range and hold on. Look at the time, 45 seconds, and now Rips can come into play when this is a much closer range engagement. Yes, they have been able to push through Attic, and granted, we do have Anaton now who's going to be pushing in through the breach. Just a little nip through and finds one onto Aces. The Toxic Babe canisters being used in an attempt to stop that push coming through Attic as hard, but the kills keep flying. Rogue are losing a grip onto this, and surely it is all going to be down to Rips and Cryin.
Huge play from Cryin now, but he is the last one left. They pushed through the smoke that was trying their best to buy time, but just going to stick it down and make sure they have some extra seconds to reposition. The C4's thrown, but it's misblown. Anaton, that's the big danger of here, and oh, it's a trade-off. Just both of them finding each other a little bit sooner than expected. It was almost very well played there by Cryin, but Cyclops, they bring themselves back in, 3-2 currently, but they still have one more round if they can try and drop it a little bit even. We're down to Laundry with all sights open for Rogue to think they can lock it off. Ossa's back on the board, but I'm curious to see if that sticks, because the team, as you said, without the mentality of playing around those shields with a little bit of pace, and that thing we love from Cyclops, which is, here's a fight, I want to take it, that's been much better without her.
It really has, and you could see just how flexible Cyclops allowed themselves to be in that previous round. The fact that they weren't hell-bent on playing a shield because they've brought it and they've got to use it, we saw what that gave them. Rogue kind of undid themselves. They knew that the biggest problem that they faced in round number 4 was that they gave up White control. So that was Prano's only job. He was just trying to hold on to the bottom of those White stairs, and he did because no one came in, but that's because everyone came in from somewhere else. Sure, the C4 from below could have been the saving grace of the round, but there just wasn't enough information on the site. It was a great hold inside of Attic. I think that Rogue just got a little bit unfortunate challenging onto a few too many windows and a few too many of those players that were on the rappel. It's good that they gave it another attempt upstairs, but it is high time to do their best to guarantee that 4-2 split, because, as we all know, a 4-2 split on Oregon is sort of the minimum expected. I think, from defenders. You've got to be coming out of here with the lion's share of the rounds.
That's the thing also worth bringing in. This is obviously CYCLOPS' map. This is their chance to put a drive in. It's their first performance, and Rogue have been playing better than they were yesterday. There's no two ways about that. They're in the lead and good spirits. But CYCLOPS, they'll wake up. As I said, it takes some time, but every team goes through that. It's just some are generally a bit quicker than others. Being able to take your first map, whether it's yours or not, is a huge reliever. It's a huge bit of courage that you can then try and drive in to go for the pressure of the full 3. Black Grey, with a very loud gun, pops an E1D, and nothing else happens behind it. I'm not sure if they were trying to go for a close down anywhere else, but it didn't really seem immediately. Aces is suddenly under fire, finds one. The Ossa, well, you're not really going to trade, and if that was somebody with a gun, it would have been a pick back up, but now Aces, well, he's able to slip away. The players, they find a little bit of an escape there on Zulu, holding their breath. He's still got to keep moving, and it sprays all over the shot. But with that in your foot, you're not going to be able to drive yourself any closer. And here, again, the Ossa, in my opinion, cost them, and it's costing them more and more. Leon gets Gatorada off the board and leaves just 3 players left.
And that's what we want to see from Rogue. We want to see that aggressive hold, that aggressive stance, because you know it's going to get brought to you. And when CYCLOPS are going to make some kind of basic rookie errors like that, you know, you don't want to be holding a shield looking at someone, you want to be holding the gun. And that's when you're going to be able to get the trade. It's no good having the intel. The intel was too late at that point. We could see the attempt, we could see the setup. Iagator was stood outside of the window with the lifeline in hand, willing to use it to open up the barricade. Black Grey has pushed himself down through Freezer and certainly taken it down Rip. Leon has since rotated as well, as have the most of Rogue. There is still that small fact of Aces on the roam though, and we know just how dangerous he can be. He's a player that has been so slippery that no one's really been able to nail him down yet. Despite the fact that a Lion's in play, he could still come up with a kill here.
And he almost didn't get it, but he just pulls himself round. He's going to escape once again. He puts the goo mine to cover his track, so he knows if somebody's chasing him directly. Black Grey, in the meantime, puts the pressure onto the site, takes care of Leon on the swing round, gets freezer control. Suzu C almost catches his first kill on that roamer that's been so problematic, but it's a drop, and it's dropped. It is a 4-2 half here for Rogue.
What a round from Aces. What a round from... And Leon as well, give him his credit. Picked a really good time to come up laundry stairs and make the rotation, fought the fight inside a garage, and was just there for a little bit of extra support that Aces really kind of needed at that point, because you looked at the overhead at that moment in time and there was so much going on. It was players nipping around this corner here and just narrowly missing out a chance at a glimpse on someone over there. It took a pretty heavy side push from CYCLOPS to go, we just need to get control of this. What are we going to do? We don't know where Aces... Let's just push side. Let's try and get a couple of kills. That's never really going to work, especially when you're leaving somebody like Aces out there on the roam. So a 4-2 split here for Rogue. Certainly a good start indeed. CYCLOPS struggling on that roam game. The Lion isn't the answer. You can't just bring a Lion and hit scan as soon as you lose a player. It needs to be a lot better than that.
Okay, CYCLOPS, the attack wasn't everything that I guess you wanted it to be, but you didn't take your time out, which makes me believe that you think that you can pull this back on your 4-2. The 3-3 wasn't the most important thing for you on your map, and now's the time to sort of prove it here. We'll start down in dorms, and with a pretty more familiar hold here, though it still has those little tweaks and twinges of that team that loves to push the mold. Ella, you don't see it too often down here. She'll likely be in a position where she can maybe swing around and get some close comfort. It's not the hefty kicks of an FO12 to just sort of lock the door of blue, but still, it's a fast gun in the right hands and a fast operator with those bursts and burns to anybody's irises that happens to walk into a Grismot. At the same time, you've also got Iagator on that Oryx. A pairing of, we want to play around this map, come find us, and I'm curious to see if Rogue pay any attention, as 3 of them very quickly stack themselves up here onto blue. Black Grey is probably about to have a lot of work for him as Anaton actually suffers on a fight there on tower.
Well, Anaton's actually got himself up along with Gatorada. There is going to be a rotation into Attic, so there's chance for them to get out of this sticky spot. But Rogue are going for a very direct approach, and Aces is going to get punished for it. Leon will be there with a trade, but this is a messy and scrappy round by all accounts. A push through into Elbow has netted Leon another. There's Toxic Babe canisters going off as well, as we've only seen 50 seconds or so. Leon's on 3, and he's still not been shut down. 3 versus 2 here in favor of Rogue. There is information for CYCLOPS, but they are being pressured very quickly. This is a long old time to start holding on for. Prano going to remove the barbed wire. He has the diffuser and could think about moving on through for a plant. There's no Toxic Babe canisters left. There's no C4. There's nothing that's going to stop this one from going down.
Well, a late random smoke there on the door, but Prano's gone for the plant either way. A trade out is the thing to end the run of Leon, but a 1 versus 1 is a very sudden pop-up. However, Prano still has a smoke in his pocket. There's pings that are coming through from a bulletproof that's on that open towards Pillar, and then there's yellow pings to give them a rough idea. More pings, more intel, more of a spread. There's a reveal, though! And Prano, often highlighted as the player that really brought a Lost at Sea rogue to shore, is sure-fired to get that diffuser down and get it locked in. 5-2.
If Prano hadn't have won that, I would have been sat there going, how have Rogue lost this? Because that was scary for a time. There was 2 minutes left. It was 3 versus 2, and the 2 on CYCLOPS had nothing to speak of. They were out of everything. They had no smokes. They had no C4. They barely had any health between them. It was a little bit of a dire situation. I love Rogue's read. I really enjoy the shot call there. Push site, push site, push site. It looked a little bit reckless. Aces, I'm going to be honest, it looked a bit reckless. He was pushing straight down the stairs, straight down back stairs, pretty much straight away inside of the round and got taken out. Leon was there for a trade, and then the trades and the kills mainly from Leon started to come through. I think he ended up with 3, although I know that one of them did come through as a trade, so potentially could have been 4 for him. Big old round, and that quick fire push in through elbow, it sort of said, you ban Flores? Like, who cares? We're going to take elbow anyway. We don't care about Flores. Like, we're just going to put bodies in the way.
I think that's it. As soon as you see 3 bodies stacked there so quickly, the drones were buzzing around tower in a very early engagement, not just a reveal, but a physical engagement within that opening 20 seconds on tower. It's a quick push. You know it's going to be a quick push. At that point, that needs to be communicated. The smoke, it popped off, but they just pushed on through it and got a kill. What we've seen other teams do at that point when they realize this is actually just lock off elbow. Just sort of say, listen, we need these for later. They're trying something quick and heavy. Let's get some more solidity onto the site, because 1 man against 3 brave people isn't really going to be able to hold on. It's not something you can do twice. Those are lessons learned, and we can see that learned here as they've gone for a much slower take. They're going to clear tower from the top down, but they also have bodies on the bottom to make sure as soon as somebody drops on a rotation, they're caught out. Anaton, he's living by fire right now, and he's not very happy about that, so he's going to try and find somewhere else to go.
Probably wise to. If you're being hunted down there, it's probably not the best place to stay. Anaton just going to really dance with death here as he just lowers himself down the stairs. Slowly but surely. Making sure he eats a little bit of time on the way, a couple of pre-fire shots here and there, just to really give Rogue something to think about, but ultimately it's been a 50-second clear of that top floor and top tower area, and now the nades can start to work. Ace is again going to take up that position at the back of those stairs as Prano just going to make sure that nobody's on the flank over inside of Laundry. Need to get hatches open, still a lot of work to do, particularly with this roam game. If you're now going to go for a clear and you're not going to directly push the site, you need to commit to that, and you need to make sure that those players have been removed. Still, we've got Alligator hanging around upstairs inside of security, so somebody to certainly think about. The Oryx can make those quick rotations.
It's one of those things that I really enjoy seeing from this more confident Rogue is they're having these big problems and big clears they have to do. As you said, 30, 40 seconds, they've pushed that player all the way back down. Alligator tries to find the first fight, cannot quite get the connection, and Aces is the one to end up standing. A minute 20, they've been able to finally find their first body, but they've also finally got all the control over those top 2 after the quick push and pressure onto tower. It is their map now to try and do with it what they want, and it's not just a single bit of control. As we said and saw on this site before, there are ways to rotate out of it and try and cause some trouble and panic, as Aces did up on tower stairs. Look at the difference Rogue have. They not only closed down this, but at the same time of tower control, were droning out onto the Laundry stairs. They had another body out there onto the server and the freezer stairs. It was map wide. More
innovation work going on upstairs. I'm not sure that Rogue are entirely aware of just exactly what's clear. Obviously, they're trying to burn out a little bit of utility there, but we see Leon still making those holes upstairs. Everyone is going to be on the site at this moment, so you've With 30 seconds left, got to start to sort of shift that focus, and maybe it is just a knowledge thing at this point of where everybody is. Suzy C going to dip himself up the stairs, take down Crying. It's an important time to get a refrag, especially onto someone that brings grenades. Or the only player actually that still had a couple of nades left in pocket. Now we start to see that Scorpion sing, although Aces will shut it down straight away after one. Suzy C comes in with the fight back, and Prano with the diffuser. Well, he's going to be left out in the cold. 3 seconds left and a lot to do.
And impossible to do. Understandably, just took a moment there to see if you could get any bodies that overextended. It's not the most unlikely thing for a player to throw themselves into at that point, but it didn't happen. And you're still 5-3 up. It was a return to a site. They had to double down to get success. If that keeps up, you've won the map. That's how math works. Kids Dorms. Dorms main hall is where we'll go to next. 5-3. They're only 1 point away from solidifying their opponent's map right now, Rogue, which compared to yesterday and compared to the 7-4 that they were dispatched on the wrong side of, it is so much growth for a team that pretty much had a mentality shake-up yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you've got to, you can sort of give them the benefit of the doubt that last round. They were seriously chasing shadows. When I saw Aces make the rotation up the main stairs and go to the top of sort of armory area, and then Leon was hanging around in bedroom with the sledge, swinging the hammer, you just sort of, oh, yeah, we get the benefit of all eye view. You know, we got the bird's eye view, we know where everyone is, we can say, yeah, 4 people on site, like, this is where you need to be. And I think it was just an information thing at that point from Rogue, and I think that they just somewhat doubted themselves on that flank. They can always bring things to try and secure that flank, you know, if they want to try and bring a Nomad or bring something like that into the mixture, but it isn't always necessary. Talking about bringing things in, Fluke. Prano.
I know, it's an arena with a diffuser.
It's that's terrifying.
Please go to Dorm's window. I want to see someone fly up. Yes, thank you, Medics. You knew exactly where I wanted it. Oh, come on. Just throw yourself in, see what you can pull off, because it's been done before. It's been done in EUL before, and it's so fun. And it's this danger. There's also obviously the hatch, as Medics is also well aware of, and is saying in my wonderful ear from our fantastic team, is there it is. You have the window, you have the hatch, and you suddenly have yourself popped up right into the back line of their site. It's not the most aware thing. You don't really expect those sort of maneuvers in play, and if you can play against expectation, suddenly it's a very different round.
It's never pretty.
No.
You know, let's not glam this up any. It's exciting, but it's never,
yeah, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing.
It's never pretty.
It's not. It works rarely.
60% of the time.
But look at where he is.
Well, this is
what I want.
The first kills come through. Aces has found one onto Igate. The kills are starting to fly. That was Prano's moment, but he gets himself downed.
Oh, and it didn't quite go the way. It's never pretty. Rips is all that's left inside the side. It's a 3 versus 1, but Suzy C is all that's left for anything on the side of it. So the remaining 2 Rogue players, well, they can just swing their way in and get that kill. It could have been the greatest. You could have been a contender, Amaru.
The thing is, how much more are we asking for at that point? Because it's borderline worked. Everything there, I mean, Rogue won the round, so it's worked anyway. But they opened up with 2 great kills. Prano flies himself. He gets down straight away. It's a huge sound cue. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of movement. It's going to get found out. Meepy looks fairly pleased with that one. He's got a slight, ever so slight, grin on his face after that round. Quick fire stuff from Rogue. That's really bringing the fight to Cyclops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Prano was an express diffuser delivery service straight to the heart of site. What else do you need? What else do you need? Same day service.
It's a 5-star. It's 5-star.
Bish bash bosh.
Yep.
10% tip.
10?
On the service. All right, 25%.
I was going to say he's just fallen in sight.
Yeah, he did collapse for this delivery. Okay, we'll give him a 25% tip.
That's better.
Tipping culture isn't a thing in England.
It's not. We need to get used to it.
Yeah. Sorry, Americans, if I've upset your sensibilities.
How good is it to see Leon Gids on 10 kills, 5 deaths?
How good is it to see Crying on more than 0 kills?
On positive?
It is. 95.
It is.
Okay, let me just paint this in an entirely different way. How good is it to see Rogue play confidently? Because yesterday they won, and they're a happy-go-lucky team. All 10 of these players are. They're a very great energy across this whole board and this whole server. They have suffered the worst, Leon, Rogue in general, but Leon as well. He's been there throughout all of it, where they've been close to relegation, and then they've been an unbeaten super team. They've literally tasted everything, and you go through that and it builds you into a team that can take those knocks. And it was one of the questions that we had, because it was a heck of a knock yesterday versus Liquid, where they just didn't have any confidence in their gunning. And to be shut down by Nesk and Palu, okay, that makes anybody uncomfortable, but being able to take that and then build into this performance where they're swinging, they're going into these fights, they're playing Amaru quick plays on their opponent's pick, it's so much better to see from them.
I mean, it's a rite of passage to get slammed by Nesk on land. Like, that's just the way that things go. And it's all about how you bounce back from that. And Rogue have done already fantastically in Oregon, regardless of the result and how this map ends. They've played some cracking Siege in the majority of the rounds so far. So much so that they are currently on map point. A chance for them to take what would feel like quite an early lead in this best of 3 and then move on to their own map choice. Like, you've got to be pitting them as favourites at that point. Aces has often been at the front of that charge, and he's going to be upstairs now on a little bit of a roam clear.
A couple of questions. Alligator, first of all, running out peaks. Second of all, doing it as smoke, I think, is always going to be a little bit of a curiosity there. He went for something bold and got caught by a drone. Lucky he saw it, because otherwise he would have been quickly dropped. Gatorado, 1. Almost finds the second. Pre-fires and hopes they swing into it. Has the hatch if they want an escape. And Alligator on the backside, but Aces locks it off and has awareness. He's very aware that there was another player, and Prano has Anaton at the bottom of the stairs, massively isolates this smoke now. Black Ray battles his way up, and Alligator swings on, finds the one in bedroom and takes care of them. Suddenly the body balance has gone back, and they've retaken the space. It's an important fight that's about to happen here for Aces, who was the tip of a spear, and now he's a man on an island. And now he's a man sent to the world beyond, leaving just Prano here to see if they can lock it off. A minute, but another 3 versus 1.
White Stairs has often been the sort of real anchor point of this entire map that we've seen so far. So much has happened in and around that area, and this round was really no different. Prano now, though, is going to have to take an alternate line of approach, and it just so happens it's going to be straight into Alligator. That is what we needed from CYCLOPS. We needed that aggression. We needed them to meet Rogue in the field, and they did just exactly that. We haven't seen a round with rapid-fire trades like that for a good amount of time.
Okay, a little bit more energy, CYCLOPS. You're 2 rounds away from being able to level this out and potentially take the map yourself. It's a heck of a boon to take yours and drive yourself in. It's a best of 3 series. It doesn't mean it's over, but again, we'll say it a couple of times throughout these early days. I'm sure if you're unaware, the way the scoring works is if you take 2 maps in the best of 3, you get the full fat 3 points. If you win, but it goes to a 2-1, so your opponents get 1 map, then you only get 2 points, and they get 1 map. So even if you lose a best of 3 series, if you take a map, you take a point, and most importantly, you take that off of your opponents, which means that they won't be as far ahead of you on a table, which across a 5-day group stage, that could be very spicy games at the end of this.
Points mean prizes, and they really do add up, as you say, over the course of the group stage, when all of these best of 3s are going down, and especially with the way that the seeding works. I mean, coming out of your group first seed, you get a bye essentially in the first round. That's massive, and that's really what teams are going to be gunning for pretty damn hard. So every round matters, and for CYCLOPS, this is 2 rounds potentially for them if they do manage to drag it back to an OT that they're going to have to fight fairly hard for. They are going to show us to the basement. This was 50-50 so far for Rogue. They've been good downstairs, and they've also been a little bit ropey, chasing shadows, chasing roamers that really just didn't exist. But equally, we've seen the direct approach, and we've seen how effective that direct approach can be.
Leon going for a direct approach with 2 bodies, either shoulder. It seems like Leon's going to go for the deep dive onto Split itself. They're sort of spreading themselves down to Laundry, actually. They've decided they want the site, and they're going to take it within the opening 30 seconds. Suddenly they're in. Suddenly one's gone. They're going to swing around and get the fight elsewhere. Can't get the connection. Leon with a huge double kill, finally dropped by Anaton, but still the door of the site has been blown open. Alligator up the back stairs. Cannot get the kill against the Buck. You assume there was a call from a drone there, and, well, it's isolated the 2 remaining players. Anaton, a massive fight, and he's able to at least slip by it, which means that they can set up a back line, a ballast of 2 bodies, pointing directly towards all the enemies, not just entirely surrounded. Prano, with the diffuser, is actually going to keep pushing, try and get the kill, and, well, it works out. Rogue, they take the opening map, they take it away from Cyclops, and they push themselves closer to a 2-0.
Rogue are not afraid of a quick play, and that is terrifying. The decisiveness and the commitment that both Leon and Aces showed in that round was second to none. You cannot buy that synergy of